All right, nobody else is dancing. Hello, welcome to the Skyline Circle. My name is Sarah. Normally Brittany does this, but I am doing it on this lovely Friday here in the United States of America and a wonderful Saturday morning for Australia. And so we have some people ending our week and some people already into their weekend, and that's super fun. But today is about learning what three amazing business people are doing in their world. And I will be honest, I don't have a great introduction because I had less than 24 hours to plan this adventure. But we had to throw some things into the wind because Brittany could not be here, and that's what happens when you have a partner. And this is all being hosted on the Keystone Network. If you don't know what the Keystone Network is, I will make sure that every one of these lives has the link to go find out what that is. So we are going to get started, though, with introducing our guests. As you can see, all their names are up there and their career paths are up there. But I want to start with Forrest. Forrest, tell me who you are and why everyone watching should know you.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah. My name is Forrest, and I am, I would say, a recovering money mishandler. I grew up in a home where money was not at the top of the list of topics to be discussed. My parents didn't do a horrible job. They did what they could with the tools that they had at hand. We never had to go on public assistance or anything like that. But I always grew up knowing that we had less than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, unbeknownst to me, what that was doing was ingraining in my brain the need to prove that I had risen above my upbringing when I became an adult. And that caused me to overspend. And long story short, I ended up filing bankruptcy because I lost my job, had a newborn son, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I took that as an opportunity to say, this will never happen to me again. And long story short, I traveled the path of remaking myself financially and along the way helped other people. And I developed my smart system of money management along the way. That is self-knowledge, monetary awareness, allocated spending, ready cash, and targeted credit use. With that system, I rebuilt myself and then I started teaching others. And I've helped many along over the years to remake themselves financially. And that's what I do. I help particularly solopreneurs like us here on this video right now to master their finances, particularly when it comes to an up and down variable income, which we're all familiar with.
Wow, I love hearing that. We didn't grow up in the same place by any means, right? But I remember I was 8 years old when I finally realized that you could buy green beans from the grocery store and not get them from your basement. And that was the first time that I was like, we're a little different than other people, right?
Right.
And you start thinking about that. And yeah, so I think that it's wonderful to hear that you took some of those trials and you're applying them to helping others. I love it. All right, David, it is up to you. Who is David and why should our two followers and everyone else who will watch this know David? Why should they know David?
Great to be here, Sarah. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm David. I'm in Queensland, Australia. If you think of the big island, we're about halfway up the eastern side of it. And I'm going to take a leaf out of Forrest's book and say I'm a recovering people pleaser. I don't know if everybody has been like me, but I learned to change to fit in. My background story is that my mum was a New Zealander, my dad was a South African. I was born in South Africa, but my parents divorced when I was 10 years old. And we moved to New Zealand, my mum, my sister, and I. And I was sent to a little country school, very different to the school I'd been at in South Africa. And on my first day there, the teacher asked me a question. And I got up next to my desk, as I'd been taught to do at school in South Africa, to answer. and the whole class burst out laughing at me. And of course, I bright red, started to sweat. And from that day on, I learnt to adapt to fit in. I changed my accent because I had a South African accent, and I started to talk Kiwi. I couldn't do much about my glasses at that time, although eventually I got contact lenses and later cataract surgery. But and I changed my hairstyle. I had short back and sides, and for those who are old enough will remember a product called Brule Cream, and I used to wear that on my hair. None of the other kids did. And it wasn't just at school that I fitted in, it was through the rest of my life. And that caused me immense issues. And like Forrest, one of those that eventually got into debt and I had to declare bankruptcy. And I did that just before the COVID lockdowns. And the first 6 months of the COVID lockdowns, I spent watching Netflix. And I realized that I got completely bored and there had to be more to life than what I'd been doing. And I've now become a transformational coach. You can see there I'm the empowerment facilitator. I help people get past the people-pleasing behaviors in their lives, in general, the roadblocks that they encounter. And I think it'd be true that everybody's got a bit of a roadblock. Sometimes it's more significant than others. And I do it with a process I call compassionate inquiry. And that's about creating a safe space for people and asking them the questions. I don't have the answers. The answers are within you. And so my compassionate inquiry is to create that safe space, ask the questions so that you can find the answers that will help you get past the roadblock, work out who you really are, no longer a people pleaser or whatever behavior you've taken on because of your early life experiences, and start moving towards your ideal life, whatever that may be. So that's what I do. I offer what I call a quest. It's a free 5-session coaching program with me over a week to start that whole process. So maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later on or elsewhere. But that's essentially who I am now, an empowerment facilitator.
I love that. And yes, we're going to get into actually what you guys offer here in a little bit, and how people can find and get involved with your services. But what I heard is what I loved, and how this is going to transition, in my opinion, is you talk about all those answers that can be found within, right? And there are a ton. But we're going to go to Donna, and we're going to talk about all the things that are out there that you got to find, right, Donna? There's so many things to find, and you help people find those. So why should people know Donna the astronomer?
Because if you've ever gone out into the night sky, if you've been lucky enough to live in a place or go camping or go visiting, and you look up, you'd like to know what's up there. And that's what I do. I introduce people to the stars. But basically, I live in Coonabarabran, which is a little country town about 6 hours northwest of Sydney, Australia, because most people know where Sydney, Australia is. Think Opera House and Harbour Bridge. David's the closest to me. He's only a stone's throw away, about 8 or 9 hours drive. But Australia is a really big country, but the universe is even bigger. And so basically I run night shows here in Coonabarabran. I did one last night, which was the first one I've done in like 10 days because of bad weather. So I was like suffering withdrawal symptoms. And so we had a really, really good time. But yeah, so I do stargazing shows. I do a lot on LinkedIn, almost like I'm moving into a bit of space and astronomy journalism to educate people and to inform people what's out there in a really down-to-earth sort of way. But basically, I introduce people to stars. But I mean, I'm in love with the stars. I've discovered a couple of comets, which gives me a claim to fame in Australia because I'm the only Australian lady who have discovered 2 comets. And I love your facial expression, except the reason for that is I'm the only Australian lady looking. So, so I'll take the honour and everything else. I mean, seriously, how many people do you know who've discovered comets? Unfortunately, I know about 3 or 4 personally, or maybe 5 or 6, because it's a small community, but they're all blokes. So I'll take the accolade of, even if it is gender biased, I will take it. But yeah, so basically, yeah, I've started a podcast, a webcast, which we'll talk about later. I'm looking for guests to talk about with conversations with Donna the astronomer, and I'm available to do talks. But one of the more exciting things I'm doing, which is a bit of a fringe benefit, and Sarah and I were talking about before we started, is I talk on cruise ships. And in less than 2 weeks, I'm off on a cruise ship to travel around Australia and Bali for 45 days, talking all things astronomy. So
That sounds so much fun. So you guys all do amazing things, right? And you're all in 3 different industries, right? Vastly different. Now, maybe David and Forrest both coach people to a certain extent, but vastly different industries. So I want you to think about your industry and what's like one rule or fact that you think is secretly nonsense that people believe about your industry. Okay? So who wants to go first? Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead. You can go first.
The one thing that people think about astronomers is that we're blokes in white coats who sit up all night with our eye glued to a telescope.
Just so you know, that is what I envision. In one of those big like dome things where the dome opens and there's like that big telescope. That is probably true. So do you ever do that though, Donna? I know it's not your everyday, but is that a factor of your job?
So yes, I do sit up all night some nights, but I don't have my eye glued to a telescope. We actually use computers because, unlike in my stargazing shows where I'm doing my public outreach and being a science communicator, there I'm showing people literally through a telescope. We look at things called spectra of the stars, and we use fancy software and everything else to do that. So we're basically sitting in a computer room or on a Zoom call somewhere in the world, or waiting on a queue stuff from if we're put in time for Hubble or something like that, just waiting on the data to arrive. But yeah, so we're not sitting there in our white coats with our eyes glued to a telescope in the dark.
One small follow-up question. Do you have the white coat?
No, because I like more colorful stuff.
Okay. I was just wondering,
that could be the girl thing.
There you go. I didn't know, once you become an astronomer, they give you a white coat or something. I don't know. Okay. So, Forrest, you had your hand raised second. So what's a secret or something about your industry that people, or that you think is nonsense?
I think it's nonsense that most people think that investing is gambling.
Sure.
It is the furthest thing from the truth. Gambling is taking a chance on a completely unpredictable event where you've got the odds stacked in favor of the house and it's a 1 in a million shot that you'll win. And why people think that is because of the way they approach investing. Most people are like, if you ask somebody for investment advice, they'll say to you, buy low, sell high, right? Sounds like a good plan, but in practice, most people buy high and sell low because they're chasing the market, running on tips that have already run out of their usefulness. And then when things go south, they panic. And then at the bottom of the market, they sell. And that's why it doesn't work for them. So, yeah, investing is not gambling. When done well, you can see a pretty steady, predictable return. Not to brag, but last year I saw an 18% return. And I showed that on my YouTube channel, how I achieved that.
Okay. So if somebody were wanting to start investing and they've never done it before, okay? So for me, this was a few years ago, other than my 401k, right? I had never really done anything that I would consider investing. And I started with this app called Stash. And what Stash does is you can click on things and find out about a company, and you can click on things that it'll teach you about the numbers you're seeing. And it was really good for me, right? But do you have a place where you would recommend somebody start? Like, should they start with a human? Should they start with an app? Like, where would they start?
I would start with myself first, and I would educate myself on what the various investment tools and options are out there.
Sure.
So that once I start doing it, I can do it with some knowledge and not panic when I start seeing something that doesn't make sense to me. From there, then I would start with simple index or mutual funds.
Okay.
Because they've done this experiment before and people think it's a joke, but literally when you put a bunch of monkeys in the room and they throw darts at a board, their performance will be very similar to the investment houses on Wall Street. And they spend millions of dollars on market research trying to predict and beat the market. And then at the end of the day, they don't end up beating the S&P 500, which is my gold standard, my benchmark.
Okay.
So I would start there, and I would put it on automatic, whatever you can afford to do. I recommend to aim for 10%, because that's part of my 70-10-10-10 rule. But start where you can. If it's $20, start there. And just start with Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity, one of their no load or low load funds, and just get your feet wet and get in the habit of investing.
Wonderful. I love that. And I won't ask what I should invest in because we're not supposed to give those tips online. I'm thinking there's rules on that. All right, David, your industry, what is something that you think is secretly nonsense?
Well, before I answer that, Donna put her hand up just after Forrest continued talking. I don't know whether you saw that, Sarah.
No, I didn't.
Do you want to ask the question, Donna, or say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that what Forrest said is so true, because I used to think, until I started getting to know and following Forrest on LinkedIn and YouTube and the like, that's what investing was. I used to sort of say, okay, I've got my $500 here, my $500 there. I can be prepared to lose that if I, and wait on it for ages. But you're right. But it's so true. Listening to what you and seeing what you've done, it's not gambling at all. But yeah. So I just want to thumbs up to you, because from just the short time that I've known you, I've just learned so much. And that was one of the key things in my mind, is I had to be prepared to lose my $500, which is my maximum investment amount, you see.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I was able to help.
All right. And yes, thank you for that, David, because I did not see her hand raised. So I appreciate that.
That's fine. Excellent.
All right, David, how about you?
Well, I hope Forrest doesn't take offense at this, but I think people don't really understand coaching in the sense that I do it.
Okay.
And I'm going to draw the distinction between coaches and trainers. Now, I said to you that my coaching is about compassionate inquiry, and it's about asking the questions and finding the answers within us. And the trainer is somebody who will tell you what to do. And,
sure.
The analogy I use is if you wanted to do the pole vault at the Olympics, you're going to need a trainer to tell you how to hold that big pole and run and stick it in the slot and swing yourself up over the bar so you don't look like an idiot. Now,
or stab yourself, right? Like that would be what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Or fall on your head or something like that. Now, the trainer is really essential to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the confidence, the certainty, you're never going to make the Olympics. You're never going to get over that bar. And so I think that's a key thing that coaches do. and what I aim to do with my clients. And what I heard Forrest say, that he actually gives people the confidence to make the investments that will work for them. So he's actually retraining their brains as well. So that's and the thing is that coaching is not a regulated industry.
No, unfortunately.
It's not regulated in the sense that, for instance, psychologists are regulated. Here in Australia, even counsellors aren't regulated. You can do a counselling course in a weekend or a coaching course in a weekend, and then on Monday, call yourself a coach. And if you're a good enough marketer, you'll get people in. Now, that's pretty dangerous in my view. So I think, so people need to be careful and check people out. And that's why I have the program that I mentioned, the Quest, to build trust in what your coach is doing. Yeah.
Okay.
No offense taken, David. None whatsoever.
Thank you, Forrest.
And I agree that I call myself a consultant and not a coach, because I am more of a trainer. You come to me with a problem, I'm going to more than likely tell you how to fix it versus walk you through fixing it on your own. And I think, and I might be speaking for Forrest, but he can correct me. I think some of the reason that he's more of a coach than a trainer in some ways is because he can only guide people what to do with their money. He can't tell them what to do with their money. And so it's a little bit of a gray area. Would I be right on that, Forrest?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see me do this every week in Money Hero Academy, which, you know, I'm happy to have you be a part of. So I can give you the guidelines, the precepts, but it's up to you at the end of the day. As you've seen,
yes,
it's up to that individual to make a decision about it. I'm not going to pull anybody in any direction. I simply am here to give you the tools to make the right decisions, the best decisions for your particular situation.
Exactly. I loved all of those answers. I absolutely loved it. My next question is going to be going back in time a little bit. Okay, we're going to go back in time. So Donna, you're first, because I think you're the one. Yes. So I want you to go back to your first job, like your paying job, not babysitting or something, or one of your first jobs, and tell me a lesson that still applies today. Something that you learned from one of those first jobs that you had, or a lesson you got from a first boss that still applies today.
So it's kind of interesting because I have a very different life than most people. When I was young, my dad was what we call a drover, like a cowboy, for you from the States. And basically we used to take cattle and sheep from one end of Australia to the other end on what we call the long paddock. And so we're talking thousands of miles of moving stock around. And so I did School of the Air, correspondence and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't grow up in a traditional sort of environment. And so I had to basically, and my parents also didn't believe in schooling for girls because you're only going to get married or do something like that. So my very first job was actually as a governess on a property out west. So teaching the rich person's kids, because to us they were rich and we were poor. So I totally understand what Forrest said earlier, because we didn't have any of that money. I didn't even know what money was because I never saw money because we had nowhere to buy anything. There were no shops or anything. But yeah, so my first job was as a governess. So for that, you got basically board and keep, and I got like $10 a week. We're talking back when I was 40, but you got your board and accommodation, and you worked really, really hard because not only were you like a governess, you were more like a nanny, I guess, in today's terms.
Yeah.
And of course, here am I, like having never finished year 10, teaching these kids, and having, nothing like that. But to me, the whole idea of getting paid this $10. So, and then I found out if I did some extra work, they'd pay me more money if I cleaned stuff or I helped cook and stuff. So I learned all these other skills, but I also learned that your income was based upon what you were prepared to you could actually earn more. And so I've never been on unemployment in my whole life because of that. I've always, even when I'm having rough times, I've gone out and found something else to do. And when the business has been slow because of COVID and everything else, I found another way to make money. When I put myself back through school, I cleaned gutters and washed windows and did things for people in the town where I was living then. So the thing I learned then was, if you're prepared to work, you get paid. If you get paid, you can do more to do that. And when you've got money, then you can do stuff.
No, I love that. It taught you that work ethic that you're still taking with you today. I love that. And no, I did not realize that it's a drover, right? The person that moves animals. Yeah, I did not know that. I want more conversations on this. Not today, but we're going to have another conversation, Donna. All right. So, Forrest, I'm going to have you go next. What is the lesson you learned from one of your early jobs that you had?
I think from one of my early jobs, the lesson I was taught that I didn't embrace right away, but I should have, because I would have been a millionaire today, is to pay yourself first.
Oh, sure.
No matter what, rain, shine, whatever, treat paying yourself first like the government reaching into your check and taking their taxes. Like, you can't say to the government, can I skip this check and I'll make it up to you next week? No,
you can't.
Put yourself on automatic, pay yourself 10% off the top, get in the habit of doing that. And had I done that, I would be a millionaire today. But after divorce and learning hard lessons and things like that, alas, I am not. I'm on my way, but I am not a millionaire today.
We're all going to get there.
Yeah.
No, that is true. Part of the problem, I think, and you'll agree with this, especially around money, but I think all of us, there's a lot of lessons we wish we started executing in our 20s instead of executing in our 40s, 50s, and beyond, right? You get smarter as you get older, and sometimes I wish I knew that back then. So David, how about you? What was one of your early jobs, and what did you learn that is still applicable today?
Well, I don't know, this sort of goes into the babysitting area, but I had a job when I was at school to earn some pocket money, working in the holidays in a factory. That made things like electric fry pans. They had a big metal press, and what would happen is that they would squirt the aluminium into the press around the electric element that would heat up the fry pan. And then they'd open the press and the fry pan would fall out. But what it had was what they called flashing, which was rough edges around the edge of the fry pan. And my job was to file away those rough edges. And it was repetitive manual work. And things have moved on a lot since then, but and I'm sure there's better ways to do it now. But what it taught me was that I didn't like that work. And the lesson was, find a job that you love doing. And there's that phrase, you'll never have to work a day in your life ever again. And I was very lucky. I did actually find that career, and I worked for 40 years in financial services in a job that I actually thoroughly enjoyed and got a lot of satisfaction out. That's not to say there weren't challenges. There weren't ups and downs in the career, but I count myself extremely fortunate that I learned not to do what people told me to do or just take what was ever on offer, but to find the job that I loved. And to do that, I actually had to leave New Zealand and go back to South Africa.
Oh.
So I did make some big changes, and sometimes you've got to take big steps to make that happen for you.
Okay. So you've lived in 3 places, and I've never been to any of those 3 places. I need to explore the world more. All right. So, and now you're going to tell me you've lived 4 places, right?
No, 3. I'm a citizen
Okay,
of all
good.
3 countries. Okay.
Good. That makes me feel a little better. I was going to be like, no, it's really 4. I've lived in somewhere else. All right. So
three's enough, Sarah.
3 is enough. Yes. Now I've lived in 3 states, but that doesn't really count. So, all right. So my next question is, and I'm going to have Donna go last because I'm not sure that she has a thing that fits this. So I'm going to let her think about it for a second. But at least for Forrest and David, I want you to think of the other people that do the same thing you do. Okay. And or similar, right? Because I understand that not everybody, like you wrote your own book for us, so nobody does exactly what you do, but the similar thing, right? So what is something that your competitors do or say or execute that just drives you nuts, that you wish you could just like, don't pay them and hit people in the head with a wet noodle? Okay. So see, now you know, Donna, why I'm saying like you should go last, because I don't know exactly like who's the competitor for astronomers. So, but I'm assuming you have something scientific that just drives you nuts when people say it. So, David, why don't you go first? What is something that like other coaches or other people that are in your realm that just drives you nuts, that you wish to don't do it, don't pay them?
Yeah. It goes back to coaching being an unregulated industry.
Okay.
And of course, this isn't every coach.
Sure.
But what really gets my goat is coaches who get people into their programs because their marketing is so hyped up. You might say good.
Oh.
Make promises that really attract people in. People invest sometimes thousands and thousands of dollars, and then they don't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really no ramification or whatever wording.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's those. I know of coaches, so-called coaches, who have been like that and then closed that particular coaching business and re-emerged doing something else later on. And so I'm not sure whether we'll ever get a regulated professional-based, in other words, with an organization and ethics and things like that across the whole coaching industry. There are organizations like the International Coaching Federation, which have ethics.
But there's nobody requiring you to join.
There's nobody requiring you to put if you're going to call yourself a coach, whether you're a health and wellness coach, a lifestyle coach, a financial coach, there's nobody requiring you to have a certificate or be regulated. And so it's where people damage others because of their behaviors. And when I started my coaching journey, I have a very good friend who is a psychologist. And she was very concerned when she found out that coaching's unregulated. And she drew the distinction between her professional requirements and the ones that she saw as not existing in the coaching industry. And she drummed into me the importance of ethics and living those ethics and delivering on those ethics. You can, in fact, hurt people, particularly if you're dealing with psychological or mental issues and things like that. But as I mentioned, you can hurt people financially. And I know in my network, people that have been in coaching programs that have suffered financially because of that. So that's my answer.
So, like with a really quick answer, what would be one question or one thing that people should ask when they first start with a coach? So like somebody is like, what would you want somebody to ask you so that they would know you're legit or you're on their side or whatever terminology, but what would be something they should ask?
From a financial point of view, I think, it's best to say, who have you worked with? can I talk to them?
Ah, do you have a prior client I can talk with? I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there somebody that you've worked with that's paid you money that I could talk to?
Okay. All right, Forrest, same question to you about your competitors, something that drives you absolutely insane.
The thing that drives me crazy is in this industry, the people who stress so much attention on processes.
Okay.
And these processes, it's like the expression, you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and feed him for a lifetime. So they take these processes and they approach the person and they try to bolt it onto their life when no one's life is like another person's life. And that's why I do personality-based coaching. So first, I give you an assessment, find out what is your money personality. And then when we enter my coaching program, I ask a lot of questions about what was your upbringing with money? How was it talked about in your household? What were your good experiences with money? What were your bad experiences with money? And we dig into all of that to find out, well, what is your actual relationship with money and why do you do the things you do? So when people try to bolt a process onto someone without looking at them as a unique individual that needs to be coached in a unique way based on their life experience, that's what drives me crazy. And that's why they always they'll try this with this person and then it doesn't work, and then they'll try again with another person because they're essentially doing the same thing. They're addressing the symptoms, but they're not addressing the root cause of the problem. And that's why I feel I set myself apart, because my first step is there are emergency situations where you got to do some processes to stop the leaking. However, you got to fix the illness so that the symptoms go away.
Right. And I completely agree. And what I'm getting from this, and I think that it happened to me a couple of times and I didn't let it turn into an addiction, but sometimes spending money, right, wrong, or indifferent, can turn into an addiction because you don't know how to get out of the spiral. Right. And because so you think
why you're spending the money.
Exactly. Right. And so, wow. Okay. No, I like that. Would there be a question that someone could ask you to make them understand that you're the coach for them versus someone else, or to find the right coach for themselves?
Well, just ask me questions about my personal experience, who I've helped, and similar to David, who could they speak to? If you go to my website, you'll see lots of people give their video testimonials about how I've helped them. And there's more. I just haven't uploaded all of them. But if you want to talk to somebody, I can easily put you in touch with someone who'd be willing to tell you how I've helped them.
And I think that right there, what you and David both agreed on, that I think that shows you are a good coach, or at least a good business person, for lack of better terms, no matter what your business is. If you're willing to say, here is somebody you can talk to, right? Here's someone that used my services. Here's somebody that bought my product, so on and so forth. And as long as it's not your mama, it's a great thing to do, right? All right. So, Donna, I let you think about it because, like I said, when I started this, I didn't know who the competitor was for astronomers. But what do you think about this?
Well, I'm going to say that it's YouTube influencers.
Oh,
wow.
Particularly those who are into conspiracy theories, media hype, and obviously flat earthers. But they're probably my biggest banes. But it's the people who basically take the media hype. For example, on the 28th of February, if you've seen this around, there is supposed to be yet another planetary alignment. And all the hype out there and the people talking about it have got these pictures of the 6 planets spaced across the sky. Whereas I will talk about things, but I'll give you the reality. And the reality is you will not see all of those planets stretched across the sky. And so it's people who do those sort of stories and play on the hype or take the controversy. Whereas what I like to do is give the news in the sense that it is and talk about the sky in the reality of what it is. And tie that back to how we live, of course, because I also am very committed to saving the night sky one light at a time, but also looking at the environmental impacts of what we do in space. And the whole moral things, just because we can, should we, sort of attitude.
Okay. All right. So I am going to stick with Donna here on my next question. Okay. And then we'll go to the rest of you. My next question now is how, I mean, I don't want you to take 30 minutes, but however long it takes, I want you to tell me about your services, the things you provide, the reasons somebody would want to have a meeting with you, like all of those things, like your programs, whatever the average person could get involved with around Donna the Astronomer.
So obviously, in a local sense, here in Coonabarabran for Australians and travellers, I do nighttime stargazing shows where we introduce you literally to the night sky and look through telescopes. And obviously, that's a very key. But I also take my basically have telescope will travel. So I will take my telescope or myself and take it around different parts of the country. And I've done a lot of stuff with schools, particularly in outer areas and that don't have like that. It's really hard to take my telescope to a school, say in Sydney, and do it because the skies in Sydney are quite bright. Even though in Australia we still can see stars in the big cities. It's not like in some of the cities in the States or other parts of the world. But what I also do is because I can't reach everybody that way, I do Zoom things. So if somebody's brought a telescope, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world, and you've got that telescope and you brought it for your kids or your grandkids, and you don't know how to set it up, so the kids don't get the benefit out of it, people can Zoom with me and I will talk them through setting the telescope up because I can talk you through that wherever you are. Particularly after Christmas, I get a lot of that because some grandparents or parents invest a lot of money buying something, and if the kid can't use it, it just sits there. And for me, the whole idea is that astronomy is like dinosaurs and paleontology, which is something else I'm into, is the greatest way to get young people into science and into that whole STEM sort of stuff. And there's no point in having a telescope that's gathering dust because you don't know how to use it. So I provide that service. Now, don't laugh. I do online birthday parties.
I'm not laughing. I think it's cute.
So basically, you've got a kid or you've got a grown-up, you've got a husband or a partner who's really into astronomy, and you want to give them a gift that they can do a one-on-one or have a group of people, and they can talk to me and ask me whatever questions they like. And we have a lot of fun doing that. It's something I sort of fell into. So do those sort of things. And so it's basically you can have an Ask an Astronomer session or it's sort of just different things like that I do, plus my podcasts and webcasts and everything else.
And how do people find you?
So I'm at Donna the Astronomer just about everywhere. If you Google Donna the Astronomer, you will find me.
Perfect.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
When it's about back in 2008, Mercury went across the face of the sun. We call it a transit of Mercury, just like you might have heard of the transit of Venus, which is a much bigger thing. But I was out at a little school with the infants, so that's like 5 to 7-year-olds, right? And so I'm down on my knees with my little solar telescope in the middle of the day, which is a safe telescope, showing these kids Venus, this little black dot going across the sun. Right? And one of the kids come out and said, "You're Donna. You can be Donna the Astronomer because you can't be Dora the Explorer because it's already taken." So out of the mouths of babes, that's how Donna the Astronomer as a business and as an individual came to be. I'd always been doing it, but I had different business names. But when that came out, that's what I thought, wow, that's so true. My name's Donna and I am an astronomer.
I absolutely love that. That is so cute. All righty. All right, I'm going to go with Forrest next. Forrest, tell me all the things you offer and how do people find you?
Well, they can find me On YouTube, all of the social media platforms, just type in my name. On YouTube, you can find me under Intentional Money Solutions. The services I offer are money mindset coaching, either one-on-one or in a group setting. So in a group setting is like the entree level of participation with me. So Money Hero Academy is up and running. We have weekly meetings where we discuss a particular topic based on a course that I created called Accountability. Why do I call it accountability? Because everything that you do in life, you have to have the ability to do it with your accounts. Doesn't matter what it is. We live in a world that requires money, and if you ain't got it, you can move to the outback in Australia or the hills of Kentucky, but sometime at some point you're gonna have to come down out of the outback or down from the hills and have some money. So
Yes.
it's essential. It touches every part of life. The entree way of working with me one-to-one would be my money smart money jumpstart challenge. So similar to something David mentioned before, we meet for 5 sessions, one-to-one, 5 days in a row for an hour, and we remap your money landscape. And then at the end of that, you decide, do you want to do more or do you want to go further? I've had people who have decided, okay, that's enough. And then I've had people who said, I want more. So that's a great way to find out whether or not, make your own decision. Does this guy know what he's talking about? And can he really help me? So the Smart Money Jumpstart Challenge is a great way to start. Above and beyond that, I have one-to-ones where we can either talk about your personal money or we can talk about your business money and your tactics around that. So I have people in all of those different stages currently right now that I'm helping. And it's just a matter of having a strategy session with me, a free strategy session where we dig in, find out where your challenges lie, what you've tried, what works for you, what hasn't worked for you. And then I can make some recommendations and you decide what you want to do from there.
I love all of that. And I'm just going to add one caveat that while the 5-day thing is 100% the way to get to know Forrest, honestly, follow him on socials first. Give it a couple of days, and you're going to see that he gives tips and things every single day. And you'll see his personality and how he will conduct himself with you. It's fun as well as educational as well as purposeful. And when you can get all those 3 things, Forrest, I think that people should watch your videos at least for a couple days first, then reach out to you for the 5 days.
Yeah,
that's my thought process.
Definitely. That's you are 100% correct. Thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah. All right, David, what about you? What are all the things you offer and where do we find you?
Well, in a word, one-to-one facilitation, one-to-one coaching, one-to-one sessions. I don't, at this stage, run group programs because I think everybody's an individual and their problems are individual to them. And I mentioned creating a safe space. Is it possible to share my screen?
Yeah,
with something?
I think.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
There should be a present thing down at the bottom.
Yeah, just bear with me and I'll see if I can do that. Do you see that?
No, I need to add it to the stage, and there we go.
Okay. So this is a brief outline of my approach. And
okay.
The whole thing starts over here on the left-hand side with what I call awareness. It's becoming aware and conscious of what's going on for you. Often our programming tells us, oh, we're going to blame somebody else. It's their fault. It's not me, it's the system, whatever. But really, it starts in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And the next stage is the acceptance of that I it's actually to do with me, and I can do something about that. The next stage I call alignment, which is really where we get to talk about what you want to achieve. Where do you want to get to? And then the fourth stage is adopting, which is working out how we're going to get there. We're going to adopt a strategy, a set of actions. Then you have to act, take those actions. And the final stage is just to assess, which is how we're going. Are we actually moving in the direction we want to? So the reason I put that up there is that I mentioned my quest, my initial 5-day challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about these first 2 stages here.
Got it. Okay.
So the idea with the quest is that we get to talk about what's going on for you in your life and understand where that's coming from, and perhaps help you to accept that it's not the system, it's not other people, it's something else within you, and you can do something about it. And then I've got a 6-week program which addresses the other issues, getting to alignment, working out some strategies, and developing some action plans for that. And I can stay involved with you and assess how that's going. So, yeah, that's the process I use. And I'm just going to stop sharing and come back to the room. And as I say, the first stage is really to do that 5-day quest, and you get to see how it is to work with me, to experience that. And hopefully we build a connection, we build a bit of trust, and we work from there. And it's tailored to you and your individual circumstances. So I'm going to stop there.
No, that's great. That's great. I loved. Oh, wait. And where do we find you?
Oh, okay. LinkedIn and also on Facebook.
And they send you a message, and then you go from there to set up a meeting?
Yep. Hopefully we'll be able to post the links separately and, with the show notes and things like that. But yeah.
100%. I'll be putting those in over the weekend. I'll be putting them into the chats of all the live streams.
All right. But just search for David Quinn-Watson. It's a pretty unique name. I don't think I've met anybody quite like that who's called that. There are other David Watsons around. I actually had one in my career that we got confused, but it's one of the reasons I kept the Quinn. There's a story behind that, which I won't go into now, but so, yeah, David Quinn-Watson.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, all of you have unique names, unlike me. There are a million of me in the world, and it's okay. So we are, give or take, about 10 minutes from kind of wrapping up the main thing, and then I have a kind of a speed round. But as we wrap this up, I know that I forget to ask things, or we don't cover things as well as we could if we had 3 hours, right? So I'm going to put you all on the spot here, okay? And I'm going to start with Forrest, because he's looking very contemplative there. So, Forrest, if you could ask Donna anything to clarify something about her past, something that she's talked about, or anything new, what would you want to ask Donna?
Wow. In the realm of astronomy?
Anything. It can be about her past. It could be about her dad and being a drover. It could be, what would you want to know more about Donna? And I know I put you on the spot, so the other two have more time to think.
That's that's an interesting question. I mean, like, I'm a sci-fi fan, so I love
there you go.
things space related. Here's a question with regards to astronomy, because I've heard some things about this over time. Why does time move faster the closer you are to the center of the Earth than it does when you're out in space, say where the satellites orbit?
It's a good question. And one of and it comes back to Einstein and his theory of relativity, but we're talking nanoseconds. So basically, if you spend a year in space, you'll come back a couple of seconds younger. And it's to do with Einstein and his theory of relativity and gravity. And it's definitely right on the edge of my specialty.
Okay. All right.
I know because I get asked it, but yeah. But Einstein's a heck of a lot cleverer than me.
Right. Yeah, it blew my mind when they said that they have to continually recalibrate the GPS satellites because they're not, and like you said, it's nanoseconds, but that makes a difference. Everything has to align. And
it can be up to 100 meters. 100 meters out. Now, that mightn't be so bad when you're driving down to the local supermarket, but if you're trying to drop a bomb on somebody, which, let's be realistic, that's what the US put GPS satellites up there in the first place for war.
Yes, it was 100%.
Yeah, don't give me any ideas, Donna.
All right, so I'm going to go in the circle. So, Donna, what is a question that you want to ask David? What would you want clarification on?
That's hard because I've known David a while and I've asked him lots of questions in the past. But if I liked what he was talking about coaches and trusting them, because I've been ripped off in the past and it's made me very leery of getting involved with coaches. But what would you say is the one characteristic that a good coach has? Now, I'm personally, because to me, I trust somebody with grey hair more than I would trust a 25-year-old trying to tell me how to live my life. Or somebody like yourself, Forrest, you don't have any hair. But so that was a bit rude. But there it is. Yeah, there it is. I trust an older person.
Okay.
And I would a 25-year-old trying to tell me how to fix things. So what would you say? That's how I see things. But what is the one characteristic that is important?
That's a challenging question, Donna. To dial it down to one characteristic, it's for me, I've been keeping a record of the coaches I've been using in my journey to becoming a coach. And I heard today on a webinar that if your coach doesn't have his own or her own coach, you should find a new coach. Okay. So I think the one characteristic I would say is that never find a coach who is always learning, always growing, who is interested in improving themselves and staying ahead of the game. We live in a very exciting time with AI. AI is taking over the coaching world in many respects. But what I'm hearing in the coaching space is that AI will never replace the human connection, never be able to replace the human conversations that we have as individual or coaches. So the one characteristic is somebody who is authentic, ethical, and I'm going to use more than one, and you can build trust in. Yeah. Hope that helps.
Yeah, and I think so I have a quick follow-up though, because I know Forrest's answer to this, because he tells me who I know the coach he admires and follows. I can't remember his name, but I follow him on
there's a few
YouTube. No, it's the one who his colors are black and gold, I think, and
Myron Golden.
And so David, who is a coach that you admire, or somebody in your field that you admire? Like, if somebody couldn't come to you, you would refer to them.
Interesting. Finding a coach is quite a personal thing.
Sure.
But I'm going to say Tony Robbins.
Sure. Okay.
Tony really started the whole coaching thing, and he's been doing it 40 plus years. Some people don't like him, but I think one of the reasons he's been so successful is that he is those factors that I mentioned.
Mhm.
Sure, and I will agree with that. And the not the best thing. One of the best things about saying Tony Robbins, though, is that there's a lot of free access to a lot of his things out there also. So you can kind of try him out, right, before you get into one of his programs that people run. And so I think that I can see that. All right. Well, we're sticking with you, David. We're going in the circle. So if you could ask Forrest one thing to clarify or something about what he does, what would you want to ask Forrest?
Okay. It may be a little bit woo-woo, but everything, in my opinion, is energy. We mentioned Einstein. E equals mc squared, and energy and matter is related. Is it true, Forrest, that money is energy?
Yes, I would agree with that. Because like energy, it can take on different forms, and it can provide power to different aspects of your life. For those who know how to split it like an atom, you can unleash incredible amounts of power. And there is an energy that follows money, and I so very much believe this because this was my experience. And just to give you a quick personal story, growing up or coming up, I was unknowingly pushing money away from me because I was giving out the energy that if it came around me in great amounts, something bad was about to happen. So I would behave in such a way as to cause something bad to happen, and then the money would leave. So the energy that you vibrate at is the energy that determines whether or not money will be attracted to you or will be repelled from you. So that energy comes from your mindset. So I would 100% equate money with energy.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I know I threw that last thing in there kind of like willing, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So I don't know. You guys are probably like, Sarah's crazy, and that's okay. So
That was really cool.
now we are going to do just a quick popcorn thing. So I'm going to literally say Forrest, and then I'm going to say this or that. And you have to pick this or that. You can't just be like, well, a third thing. Okay? No. We got rules to this game. Okay?
I can't be like somebody we know.
Right. Gotta have rules. Okay. All right. So some of them are funny. The first few are like serious. And then there's a few that I think are funny. Okay. So I am going to start with Forrest and go in the circle. So Forrest, growth or stability?
Growth.
Okay. Donna, structure or flexibility?
Structure.
David, gut instinct or data?
Data.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, Forrest, I shouldn't even ask. All right. Because I'm in Chicago and he's in New York, and a pizza is it's a fighting word.
I know you're not about to ask me.
Thin crust or deep dish?
Thin. Get out of here with that donut pizza you guys have over there.
All right, Donna, you get a choice of 3: coffee, tea, or energy drinks.
Coffee.
All right.
I grew up before energy drinks.
Oh, that's true. Okay, maybe. But you could still do them now if you wanted to, I guess. All right. All right, David, beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Gee, now you got me. Beach vacation.
All right. Now, one more for each of you. So, Forrest, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Okay. Donna, if I'm going to get a hold of you, text message, phone call. Text message could be like LinkedIn messaging, like messaging or phone call.
Phone call.
Okay. And then, David, this is like fighting words for me because I'm the first one every day. Inbox 0 or is your inbox chaos?
Chaos.
All right. So that was the end of it. I just wanted to do a couple of fun things. I appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate the people watching. And if you don't know what the Keystone Network is, please reach out to me. Over the weekend, I'll go through and put everyone's links in the chat. And are you giving me a love, Donna?
I wanted to say happy Valentine's Day to David and the Australians and to you guys for tomorrow. That's why I'm doing that.
Yes, that's right.
Thank
It's
you.
already Valentine's Day for you guys. I forget it's tomorrow. I love that you guys are in the future. It's very fun. Okay. So anyways, I appreciate you all being here. I will, like I said, I'll post everybody's links on how to get a hold of everybody over the weekend on all the places I went live. So please check that out. But you have everybody's names, so Google them. And I am going to hit end stream and we're going to all get to our weekends. Have a great one.
All right. Thank